What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Punch Drunk Nerd, the podcast where three friends, three amigos, three bambinos come together to talk about nerd shit. Tonight, you guys know the drill. We're one nerd down. Luis is out. He's working hard. Okay.
I like how that's the drill now.
You know, if it's me and Ed, Luis is busy. Okay.
That's true. Yeah.
We are also just going to shout it out. We've done this for the last couple of weeks now. You guys follow us on twitch.com/@punchdrunknerd. We are live streaming our podcast on Twitch right now. Okay. So you guys can actually get the early access. This is not a Patreon exclusive. Okay. This is just come hang out with us on Twitch. Leave us some comments. Hang out with us. I don't know where I see those comments. I hope they show up somewhere. We'll see. I'll pull it up. But anyway, come hang out on Twitch with us. Okay, we're recording a podcast live. You get to see behind the curtain and peek at a little bit of this magic, as we say in the industry.
Yeah.
Ed, hey man, it's good to talk to you.
Hey.
Oh wait, I'm your host for tonight. I forget. Luis makes this look so easy. I'm your host for tonight, Miguel Sanchez, and with me is
Ed. The Ed Ball. Or just Ed Ball.
Ed.
The co-host. Here we are.
Ed Ball.
Sorry, yeah.
My favorite person in the world, honestly. Ed Ball. Yeah. Well, as far as the podcast is concerned. All right, so I have a child and a wife. Oh man, I tell you what, so you guys know the drill. We're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about our feature discussion this week. The Oscars just happened last week, so we're going to talk about some of the major talking points of that. It'll be tired and old by the time you guys listen to this episode, but that's why you follow along on Twitch, you guys.
We got thoughts. We got thoughts.
And then we might wrap it up with just like a little silly talk. We don't know. We're going to go where the vibes go tonight, okay? Might be a really short episode. Who knows? Guys, let's talk about something right up top. It's some of the biggest news of this week, okay? Kind of crazy that it happened.
It happened right after we recorded last week, I believe.
That's right. So sometime between our last episode and before the Oscars, we got some sad news, you guys.
Some sad news.
The death of an icon, a legendary actor in Hollywood, okay? I don't feel like we normally don't go too heavy onto the death talk, you know?
Yeah. The odd occasion where I have mentioned it because it was somebody big or who meant a lot, I felt ridiculed and judged.
Yes, as you should.
Yes, it is always a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
We are, in true Punch Drunk Nerd fashion, we're using it as an opportunity to talk about the work of said actor.
That's right.
We are, of course, talking about the passing of Gene Hackman.
Old Gene Hackman.
I mean,
I tell you this: we don't have to talk about the death of it all too much. But I will just say this: when I read the news, Gene Hackman died. I said, "Yeah, I understand. He was getting up there in age, and you saw the last year or two, you might have seen some pictures of him out and about, and he's getting up there, you know." And it's a sad thing to happen, but it's also kind of just a passing of life, you know.
Sure.
These things happen. But then you read the headline of what happened, and you're like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? What just happened?
Our boy was taken from us.
No.
I mean, I think that was a lot of people's reactions. It's just like, man, he was just getting on, and because he's been out of the public eye for so long, of course, naturally, he's just gotten older, and his appearance has changed drastically. But,
that's right.
It was a surprise, nonetheless. It wasn't what you were expecting Thursday or Friday morning, whenever it did get announced. You're just like,
no.
Oh, damn. And it's one of those things like the weight of it, just like his career, his name.
Yeah.
That's what really, I think, struck the most. You're just like, damn, that's sad. That's like a little bow on the story. Bow sounds like too fun, but just, you know what I mean? That story is now wrapped. Like I said, he's been out of the public eye since the early 2000s. He
oh
retired.
my gosh, the early I remember him retiring. I thought he kind of
Tenenbaums.
snuck. That was the last one?
That was the last one.
Good for him. I thought he snuck one or two more in there, but maybe I'm just thinking of someone else. But pretty crazy. He was 90-something years old. He was born in the 1930s. Isn't that crazy? So, I mean, that's a long life, you know? And unfortunately, taken too soon. But we are going to talk about some of we're just real quick while we're on the subject of Gene Hackman. What an opportunity to talk about some of our favorite Gene Hackman movies.
Because we don't see him, when do you talk about him?
No.
But like, here's the thing: he's one of those actors where it doesn't matter the caliber of movie. Generally speaking, Gene Hackman is gonna come.
He's showing up to show out.
Exactly, 100%. And I've seen like a vast range of his movies. Admittedly, I haven't seen like a lot of, arguably some of the bigger ones, but I think I've seen a lot. But because he was a actor who was so present and so recognizable and also familiar, because just looking back in the 90s alone, like it was that was like his 90s action hero phase. He was often a military guy, or some crooked, he was playing a villain a lot more kind of thing. So yeah, it's I think it would be fun to just like dabble in some of those experiences. So I've got a question for you, Miguel.
Oh, I was gonna ask you a question. You go first.
Okay. What as far as you can recall, what was your first Gene Hackman movie?
That's a great question.
I think it's like such a fun mix for everybody. Like it's always going to be a random one.
Yeah, like, whoa, that's the one? I get that.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
that. I tell you this, I feel like maybe the first one, because some of his movies I really didn't connect with until I was a little bit older. But like as a youngin, the first one I can think of, and the one that honestly I watched the most, was that Gene Hackman, Owen Wilson movie, Behind Enemy Lines. I watched the shit out of that movie growing up. That was one that like I think I've said this before. My dad really didn't go to the movie theaters a lot with us. It was mainly like my mom would take me to the movies. Yeah. But there was a couple of times where my dad and my mom and me would all go as kind of as a family to go see a movie in the theaters. And we saw Behind Enemy Lines. That was one of those that we saw like twice in the theaters.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And I know. But my dad loved it, so he was like, "Let's go see it again." And we were like, "Okay," And we got it on VHS, and we watched it a shit ton on VHS. It's one of those movies that I feel like if you pressed play right now, and when you let me watch the first like 5 or 6 minutes of the movie and then you hit pause, I probably could just recite the rest of the movie from memory. You know what I mean? Like just like it would just flow out of me. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Is it the best movie in the world? Is it, whatever? I don't care,
it was Mission Impossible. No, it was Top Gun Maverick before Top Gun Maverick.
The 90s, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun movie, and Gene Hackman's really good in it. And it's funny because we're going to talk about this movie in a second, but Crimson Tide, we watched that today.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar role.
Vibe.
Like, he really hits that, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He hits it in that movie, too. And,
both of which he's playing a superior officer.
Yes, it is
dealing with a quote unquote rogue rebel soldier or whatever.
No, I tell you what, they were like, "Hey, do you want to just do that again?" He was like, "Fine,"
whatever. I do want to correct myself because the one or two hardcore fans we've got listening to our podcast will be screaming at the mic. But okay, I do want to say what his last movies were. According to IMDb, it was actually Welcome to Mooseport.
Hell yeah.
You remember that?
Hell yeah.
I never saw it.
Ed, I'm going to let you wrap up real quick the quick thought that you're having, and then I want to tell you something, okay?
No, and then prior to that, and I thought this came out a little earlier, but I guess not, but Runaway Jury was 2003. Okay. Behind Enemy Lines and The Royal Tenenbaums were both 2001.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sense.
Okay.
I have to tell you something, and I just need you to brace yourself, okay?
Oh, God. All right.
Okay. So I have a very distinct memory of Welcome to Mooseport. I did see that movie in theaters, okay? Do you remember being like 12 or 13 and your mom would like drop you off at the theaters and you would go see a movie by yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that was kind of like the age when I was starting to do that a little bit more.
Oh yeah, but
And I was at the time, I really liked Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. Is that it?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that what that's called? And
that's one of them.
the year that Welcome to Mooseport came out, the
2004.
the biggest Lord of the Rings movie ever had just come out, Return of the King.
Yeah.
And I went to go see Return of the King because I liked the first two Lord of the Rings movies so much, and they were so popular at the time. And I got to maybe 2/3 into Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I'm so bored right now. It could not have been 2/3 in because they, that whole meme of it being like 7 endings before the movie finally ends. I hadn't even gotten to all the endings yet, so that's how far into that movie I was. I think he maybe had climbed the mountain, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go step out for a second. And when I walked out of the theater right across from mine was playing Welcome to Mooseport, and it had just started, and I was like, oh, I fucking love Ray Romano. Okay. Gene Hackman. And I went and I watched the entirety of Welcome to Mooseport, overseeing
the rest
arguably
of
the greatest Lord of the Rings movie of all time, right?
Have you gone back? You've gone back and rewatched that though, right? The Return of the King?
What do you think?
I mean, I like to think that, yeah, you have, but like, a part of me thinks like maybe really he hasn't, and everything I thought I knew.
I tell you what, I've only seen Welcome to Mooseport one time. Okay, so that was the only time I saw that movie.
Still not an answer, but
couldn't tell you what happened in that movie. Like Gene Hackman was like the mayor of the town or something like that. And it was like some HOA. It was like some HOA type dispute, right?
Oh,
where he was like,
yeah, classic.
What the fuck? I'm just gonna keep doing that.
Get out of my town. A lot of that too. Oh man. Okay, so let's.
What was the first Gene Hackman movie you ever saw?
Oh right, yeah. Okay, so I was thinking about all the movies I had seen with him. But yeah, one thing that we had in my house growing up was a VHS of Get Shorty.
Oh,
with John Travolta, Danny DeVito, what's
Uma Thurman?
Renee something.
Zellweger?
No. I'm going to pull it up because I don't want to.
Is Get Shorty those? It's like the sequel, and then they made an.
Be Cool was the sequel.
Okay.
So unnecessary and absolutely terrible, and nothing on vibe with the original. Oh, Renee Russo.
Yeah.
Renee. Yeah. Okay. I know. Anyway, it's a great little gangster caper. It's not even a caper thing. It's a gangster. It's about a gangster who wants to become a movie producer. And he wants to tell a story about, I guess, his life. And
Get Shorty walked. You know what I mean? So Barry could run.
Yes, exactly. The show Barry. Yeah, I got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same page.
And Gene Hackman is the director that he goes to get it made. And Gene Hackman is great in that. Yeah, and that's a movie that I do actually occasionally go back to. Probably more out of nostalgia, but it is actually a genuinely good movie, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And the cast is solid. It was one of the, outside of Pulp Fiction, it was one of the better roles that John Travolta had in the 90s. That wasn't full of sentimentality or whatever.
Yeah.
It was, no, it's a lot of fun. So you should watch it. And I saw it on Prime the other day, but yeah.
No, I'm in this mood now to watch a few more Gene Hackman movies,
Yeah.
I think I've seen The French Connection one time. Was it Unforgiven? Was that the
Unforgiven?
Western?
Yeah. That's the one he got an Oscar for.
Yeah, and the other one was he won.
And he also got it for French Connection. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So the second one was for them. Okay.
Yeah.
The big one that I haven't seen that I kind of want to go to is Superman, the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Me too.
Which I feel like is appropriate because that Superman movie's coming out this year. We should do a little double feature.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I was thinking about watching those movies leading up to it anyway. So
perfect. At least
we're
going to do that, okay?
Yeah.
You heard it here first, okay? But real quick, before we move on, unless you have something you want to talk about.
No, yeah. Another one was Unforgiven, and The Conversation was a big one. He didn't get an Oscar for that, but that was like one of his most famous roles. But sorry, you wanted to talk about Crimson
I want
Tide?
to talk about a movie that you watched today for the first time, and I also watched today for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's all because after Gene Hackman died, I saw a clip of this movie on Threads. Someone was like, this is a great powerhouse scene. It was Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. And I was about to say in his prime, but that's disrespectful because Denzel Washington is always in his prime. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
But I would say this was younger Denzel. This was like early to mid 90s Denzel. Okay. And it was a really good scene, and we'll talk about it in a second. But it made me go, I've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
And we were blessed to find a copy of it. And
it's also available on Prime.
Okay. Perfect.
There you go.
Classic. Thank you, Jeffy Bezos. So you were like, I'm sitting down, I'm watching it today, and I was like, well, while I'm working, I'm gonna put it on the background. I'm gonna watch it while I work too.
It seemed like an accessible movie to
really straightforward, right? Like, okay, so Crimson Tide. First off, Luis, when you said you were watching it, Luis was like, "Roll Tide," and I thought he was making like a dumb joke. What I didn't realize is the name of the submarine is called the Alabama, and they literally say "Roll Tide." Roll Tide. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, okay, all right."
Yeah, but Alabama.
Gene Hackman is the captain of this submarine, and Denzel Washington is the newcomer to the boat. He's the second in command, the XO. Okay, which I learned so many naval terms they throw around, and I was like, all right,
what a bureaucracy, You're just like, oh well, you got to get the guy on the other side of the submarine to confirm.
Lots of red tape, honestly, and it just makes sense at where we are now that we just don't love that as much anymore. But it's a really kind of thrilling movie. It pairs two great things as far as like drama is concerned. The brink of World War III. And this tiny submersible with stuffed with people that can't get out. Right, there's nowhere to go, and you're trapped in this little tube underwater. So the tension was there. I feel like they start with like a really quick little beat where they're like, "Uh-oh, it's on fire," and you're like, "What other trouble are we gonna get into on this submarine?"
I was like, I mean, come on, like you could have been
because I feel like more... No, I feel like they were like,
"What idiot started a fire on board?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, we need to turn this around."
We didn't dive too deep into that one. They were like, "The kitchen's on fire." You go, "Yeah, that makes sense."
Oh, that's practical. Yeah, somebody spilled the oil or something.
Yeah, I mean, so before we get into it too much, and we don't have to talk about it too much because we have other things. But like, what was your general thoughts? Like when it was over, did you like it, or were you like, ugh?
I feel it was like, all right, but it was, it met my expectations. How about that? And it 1,000%. But there were like a handful of moments or scenes that genuinely like caught my attention or shocked me. So yeah, I think, like I said, it's exactly what you would think it was. It's a movie directed by Tony Scott. It's a submarine thriller in the 90s that surprisingly there's a lot of those going on in the 90s, like if you think back to it. It's just like, oh yeah, submarines.
What was the other one with the it's like a call sign?
There's The Hunt for Red October, which is one of them.
You like 151 or whatever,
some shit like that.
It's like
exactly
some number.
Which one you're talking about. Yeah.
I can see the poster.
Exactly. There's a comedy called Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer. Love that one.
I bet.
There's probably a lot more that we're missing. But yeah.
Dude, we just wanted to get into the submarines in the 90s. Yeah, we were like, what's going on down there?
We've got the technology now, the thrillers.
Yeah.
What happens when you put a bunch of men in a tube underwater? But yeah, it was, and hey, also you got like a pretty fun cast of James Gandolfini, Viggo Mortensen, Steve Zahn shows up.
Bro, I had no idea. And honestly, what did he do? Who was he?
He died. He was the one guy that died. Like, In the he was trying to
he was the
seal
one
up.
that drowned.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
he had that pipe explode on his head, and it killed him.
I was working while I was watching this movie, so I was definitely kind of just listening to some parts. But yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Steve Zahn.
Yeah, no, hey, it was a good moment. He was trying to save the ship, and they kept telling him to get out of there, and he just kept trying to do it, man. But
guy.
like the moment, I feel like I'm missing somebody out. Obviously, Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman. Yeah, I don't know, but
it's a pretty stacked cast.
There's a lot of recognizable faces. So yeah, I don't know if this was like based on anything though, but
no.
You get. I mean, yeah, it's pretty loaded. And aside from those bits, though, I mean, the overall thing, I mean, another moment was like the standoff between Gene Hackman and Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, yeah, that was really good. But first off, so there's this kind of like I say quasi because it was technically he was allowed to do it according to the rules of the movie. Denzel Washington kind of like commits this mutiny.
Right.
And he's like, I'm taking over this ship. You are no longer the captain. Lock him in his quarters. Yeah. And when that happens, it's like another hours left in the movie. You're like, well, what the fuck's going to happen next? Like, where do we go from here? That's a pretty like dramatic thing to happen. And then all of a sudden, who shows up again is fucking James Gandolfini. And he's like, let me see the fucking captain, And he goes in and he's basically like, tell me what to do. Give me an order. And then all of a sudden, Gene Hackman's like, commit mutiny. And it's like, oh, a double mutiny.
Yeah.
And then it's like that. From that point on, I was like kind of locked in. I was like, whoa, okay, let's see how do we solve this? We're on a submarine, can't go anywhere.
And how do you get out of a double mutiny?
How do you do it?
Triple mutiny.
That's literally what happens. And I was like, dude, that's how you know it was the 90s, because they were just high on cocaine and they were like, let's just write
so then Denzel gets put in his locked in his room, and then they break out and they commit mutiny, and then it's a standoff. No, I mean, it was pretty fun. Every beat, as predictable as it was entertaining enough, and it moved relatively quickly.
Yeah.
A little repetitious, yes, but a lot of just like good acting moments where it was like the first confrontation with Gene Hackman and Denzel was fucking like fire, because Denzel is kind of, I know we're supposed to be like talking about Gene Hackman, but like Denzel Washington's this kind of quieter, more subdued character for most of it, and then he explodes, and then Gene Hackman, at his very best, just kind of like tearing him apart, kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
there's something. It's a mean duo.
There is something commanding about Gene Hackman's voice when he comes in. When he finally gets released from the locker or whatever.
Yeah,
and the moment he bursts into the room, Denzel is just given like a command, and he goes, "Belay that order."
Yeah,
and you're like, oh. And literally everyone gasps, like, and then he has this really great line where he goes, any of the commanders or whatever personnel in this room that feels like they got unfairly caught up in all this, you can join me now, and everything will be okay, basically. And then you get to see how the lines are crossed, like who's going to do it, who's not going to do it. And I just love that the whole thing comes down to one of them wants to set off these nuclear bombs, and the other one is like, no, I really don't want to do that.
I think that's what it comes down to.
And you're like, who's supposed to be the good guy here? I don't think it's any too much question here. It's the guy that doesn't want to start World War III.
It has a nice little kind of countdown rhythm to it. Like it's like there's a tension building. Like they have a deadline to meet, and they're like, one guy's trying to fix the radio to see like if they were indeed supposed to send the rockets, and then the other thing is they've got to set it off by a certain time, or the enemy will first. I don't know. It was, it was propulsive submarine. No, it was a fun one. I mean, and like I said, he wasn't like the full-on villain, the antagonist, I guess.
No, it was something where you could. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I mean, and that's great. The great thing about Gene Hackman, and this movie is a good example of it. he knows how to do friendly, authoritative, and threatening. Like every one of it. Like I believed he was going to shoot that guy in that Viggo scene. You're just
what
like
a great scene.
Viggo, you better do it. I believe he's going to kill him. And throw in the little character touch of his Jack Russell.
Oh my god, that damn dog! Can we talk about that dog for a second?
Yeah,
I'm so
that's
glad.
A breach of protocol. How do you allow that?
Oh well, they said they have a line in the movie yet. If you were paying attention, he's been general or whatever for so long, and he's the last of the wartime ones that we have left. So they kind of just let it slide because he's like so good at his job.
Okay.
He can have the dog. But I'll tell you this, man. When they got underwater, and I remember them saying, "Yeah, we're going to be under here for like 45 days until we see air again," and then I was like, where's that dog gonna shit? I
was thinking the same thing.
Like maybe, and like there was that scene really early on where he's like, he calls Denzel Washington to his quarters because they've had a little spat, and he said, "Hey, don't call me out in front of other people. If you have a problem, you talk to me in person, in private." So they go to the room, and I was just like, you ever been to someone's house who has a dog like that? They don't clean up too much, and then like the house just smells of dog, Just imagine that submarine overall, but then that one room of that submarine when he walked in, Denzel, I would have been like,
like basically airtight,
Fuck no, dude. Fuck no. And then the entire scene, I was like, where does that dog go shit, And then we get a scene where they were like, hey, we're going to have to show the audience of this dog taking a leak because they're going to be caught up on that the entire time.
What is that dog doing? Yeah.
Where does it go?
Somebody's having to deal with that,
Yeah, and he just pees in a drain, and you're like, but where does that go? We are in the submarine, know? They fire turds out the torpedo hatch, You're like, okay. I don't know, dude. I was really blown away by that.
You just see him float.
Yeah.
Float to the top.
They'll be like, no bubbles. Or, okay. I heard the word bubbles so many times in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, no, what a movie. Is this one? Let me ask you real quick. Shout out Gene Hackman, R.I.P. Great actor. Love him. We could talk about him all day. Would you see this movie again? Would you watch it again?
No. I mean,
probably
back
not,
back in the days of TNT and cable TV, 100%.
Yeah.
I just think I missed that. I was always aware of its existence. You know what I mean? Like Crimson Tide.
I had no idea.
Okay. But this was my first time. I didn't know that much about it. But like Crimson Tide, I knew it's like a 90s Gene Hackman thing.
That's so crazy. I'd never heard of it. I remember.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I remember that era of Denzel Washington because like he was just toned, fit. He had that short. Sometimes he would have that mustache. You know what I mean? That was a very like early days Denzel.
Yeah. And he's equally good. Like, man, that was like the selling point right there.
The line he has. Okay, first off, this is also such. I know we're supposed to talk Denzel Washington. When he starts to, they're having that back and forth about who's going to take command of the ship in that one scene.
Yeah.
Denzel has like a cadence that he is like really hitting to point to what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Because at the same time, Gene Hackman's shouting at him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like such Denzel acting. It's like very much his rhythm.
Yeah.
But then there's also that scene later where he's talking to the radio technician and he's like, you ever watch Star Trek? Come on, Star Trek? You know what I mean? It's like that whole dialogue. And it's like, man, I just have like Denzel just like has a way of speaking that is just like, yes, of course, this is your dialogue.
He's got these guys in the palm of his hand. Kind of thing.
Absolutely. No one else could deliver those lines. It's
Nobody
almost
else
like
could commit mutiny better than Denzel Washington.
Fuck no. And I would be like, hang on, what's Denzel doing? I'm going to follow him. Okay.
He sounds confident. And he's a Trekkie right on.
Right away. And that one line where he's like, and we don't have to get into it, but like that comic book scene.
The comic book
where he's
I just like that.
Where he's like, and everyone knows that Kirby's Silver Surfer is the best Silver Surfer. I was like, man, pre-MCU, like pre-superhero movies to that degree, I feel like that would have gone over so many people's heads. Like Kirby, you'd have to know who that is. Maybe you would know who Silver Surfer is, but it's just
that's
like, I feel
reference,
like, no.
No, what I was going to ask is, looking back at it, like, I don't know how many Gene Hackman movies you've seen, but what are like
handful.
what's one or two of your favorite roles of his that really stand out? Like when you think of Gene Hackman and movies that you like actually like.
So, like I said earlier, I saw Behind Enemy Lines so many times, and if I had to choose between these two movies specifically, Behind Enemy Lines and Crimson Tide,
Yeah,
I would Behind Enemy Lines all the way. Even though Denzel was so good, and I do like the mix up of being in a submarine, I just really felt Behind Enemy Lines was maybe one of my favorites. And again, whether you, the listener, or Ed, my best friend in the entire world, disagrees with me, that's fine. But it's just one of those that you kind of just hold on to. I remember liking The Royal Tenenbaum. That was, I think, my first Wes Anderson movie. And that was kind of at an age where it was like, oh, movies can be different. You know, you remember like the first time you would watch a movie that wasn't with your parents or family, and you were like, oh, this is like my own first like opinion of film or whatever.
Right.
I do remember the moment watching that for the first time because our friends had watched it a couple times, and maybe you had already too. But when I sat down and watched it, I was like, oh wow, that was actually really good and different. Even though now I'm not a big Wes Anderson fan, but I liked him in that. I'm sitting here trying to like rack my brain about other big Gene Hackman movies. He wasn't one that we watched a lot. Like I said, it was when I got a little older, I watched more of them.
Yeah.
But what about you?
I think like older, I honed in, I guess. And you know me, like I retrospectively like go back and watch all of the big like Oscar movies and stuff like that. So I've seen those movies too. But I mean, honestly, The Royal Tenenbaums might be my favorite role of his. Just because it's so different.
It's different.
Best from everything he has done. It's a lot like nuanced, it's subtle, it's just hilarious too. His comedic timing is great. And I wish, Wes Anderson would go to more like back to that kind of like that focused character that isn't like a part of his universe. It's just like his own thing. But he's just so great in that. And I've got to say, I finished watching that. I've kind of been watching that sporadically over the last week. And I finished watching that right before we started recording. And the ending actually really got to me. Like it has never done before, and obviously with his passing. But if that was like, his last movie, like it's a hell of a swan song
to go out
so it does end with like his funeral, it just hit so much harder, so that was nice and beautiful. But I mean, he's great in that, and I mean so many others too. But get out and go see Get Shorty. I think you would enjoy that one.
Now that's the deep cut one that I'm kind of surprised about. So I'm like, okay, let's add it to the list.
I remember it's just like he's a goofball in it. Like he's fun. He's like a shitty, skeezy director, but he's great in it. Yeah. Get
Shorty. Okay, you heard it here first.
Yeah. All right.
Ed's favorite movie of ever.
R.I.P. Gene Hackman. You were great.
Yeah.
So, Miguel, Gene Hackman, they talked about him at another event, not just our podcast. They talked about him at a little thing called the Oscars.
The what?
The Academy Awards, some would say.
The 97th Academy Awards.
The 97th
year
Academy
of our
Awards.
Lord 2025.
And they announced the winners of the year 2024.
That's right.
And Miguel, I know you hate the award season. It's your favorite
I do.
season to hate. And you haven't seen... Yeah.
I love the shows. I love the award shows. I like that aspect of it. But I hate being like, I have to watch 45 movies in order to fully appreciate it. And it's like, who has the time? You guys listen to our last year's podcast, the year before that podcast, the year before that. We don't have to get into it now. Okay. But I love the community. Okay?
Yeah, this is the first time in a long time where I haven't watched every single Best Picture nominee before.
Why is that, Ed?
I had a child.
Daddy mode.
I did my best though. But as for those of us who do follow the awards season, there were some surprises. But let's talk about the overall show. I mean, you say you come for the shows. And the Oscars it's a long bitch. No matter how hard they try, I don't think they actually try, but it's always long. It always overstays its welcome. And it really comes down to just like the host, the entertainment of the night. Obviously you want the people that you want to win.
Yep.
But at least it helps. But acceptance speeches are usually a bore. But this year we got to welcome Conan O'Brien as the host.
His first time.
And what did you think about him?
I'll tell you straight out the gate here. Okay. I'm a Conan O'Brien fan. Okay. Yeah. I like Conan O'Brien. I think, and I've talked about this so many times, but of all the late night hosts that have been around since I've been alive, okay, Conan O'Brien is probably my favorite, number one. I just think he's got this really great energy. Not only that, he's been doing it so long and so consistently that he just knows how to work a room. It doesn't matter if it's the big stage at the Oscars. It doesn't matter if it's his television show or his podcast in the studio. He knows how to, it doesn't matter if there's 3 people in the room with him or 100 people in the room with him. He knows how to work it. So this was nothing out of the ordinary for me. He just felt just so natural. His rhythm was perfect. He knew how to laugh along with the audience just enough to kind of wink with them and then move forward. His bits were very reminiscent of like his late night show from the 90s, the late oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. Not the Tonight Show, but the late whatever
night show or the late
whatever
show?
whatever the after one was.
There's so many. Who gives a fuck?
The original Conan show before all the stuff went down. It was just reminiscent of like, hey, it's past midnight and we can do whatever the fuck we want on TV, except it's the primetime stage, at the Dolby Theater. It was a great time. What did you think? I'm talking a lot.
No, I agree. I thought he was perfect. It does bring me to a point. I missed his opening monologue. The reason for that is I had counted on watching the event on Hulu, which they were, they were promoting and streaming live as, Netflix has started doing live events without having to have Hulu Live. It's not an extra subscription. They were just an exclusive live event. And we were having trouble with Hulu, all that to say.
Actually, I love that we're going to blame Hulu right off the bat, and I feel like we can get into the Hulu talk a little later because that's going to be a big talking point. But no, Ed, let's be real. What really happened was you and I were playing Fortnite, okay, and you were like, Miguel, I have to go take a shower or whatever it is you said, and I said, okay, yeah, no problem. We turn off the game. I immediately hop on to do the pre-Oscar stuff, and it had already started, and it was in the middle of the goddamn Wicked performance, and I was like, motherfucker!
And that did come before
that was how they opened the show.
Okay.
So no, I'm all for. I want to shit talk Hulu, but let's be real, we were playing Fortnite. Okay?
we did, but that doesn't mean I didn't have problems, and I am going to talk about that.
I want to hear all about it.
But no, when I went back and rewatched the monologue, it was very funny. His halftime bit about Kendrick was hilarious. He talked a little bit about Carla Sofia Gascon from Emilia Pérez.
That was one. That just real quick, that was in the moment. I couldn't believe the things he was saying because she was in the audience. And I know there was all this drama, but I just love that he was like, I'm going to just jump out and say it.
But like you said, he plays it off really well.
Yeah,
he was just like, because he's got to do it. He's got to just, and you're getting the elephant out of the room. You know what I mean?
You know what? I feel like maybe she feels a different way, but as far as like what the camera captured, she kind of just accepted it, like kind of played along with it. And I feel like that's the joy about Conan O'Brien is he can make those jokes in a way that just makes you go, "Go Conan," you know.
It would be a completely different thing if it was like fucking Ricky Gervais or something. You know what I mean?
Now
Like
he would,
he would tear that room apart.
Yeah.
So
And he was also arguably a really good host for the Golden Globes.
He was a great host, like, because sometimes we need that as an audience. It's like, let's bring these stars down a peg. But no, I think he was tactful. He was sincere at the right moments too. Obviously, they referred a lot to the LA fires and and talking about the meaning of movies and why they still do events like that, especially at hard times like that. So he was sincere at the right moments, and it was a nice balance. And I thought his little song, I won't waste time, was fun. Fuck it. And overall, I thought it was a fun show. I think just the usual, the speeches were tough most of the time.
There's one that really sticks out for me, besides the big one that everyone's going to talk about. But there's another one that I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
But the Emilia Pérez one?
Oh, I'll tell you. But speaking of Conan and the fires, they talked about it a lot, but he had, again, just a really great bit off of it where he brought out the firefighters.
Oh, yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, we're going to just do a little tribute to the firefighters. But then he included them
the next few jokes
in the bit, and having them tell jokes was perfect. And it was like, those are the jokes. And I know they framed it like, these are jokes we couldn't say, so we'll let them do it. But it's also like kind of true. Like, he was able to say some of the really like pointed jokes without having to take the flack. And what are they going to do? Get mad at the firefighters? No.
Exactly.
So it's like a genius bit.
It worked. Yeah. And instead of just like putting them out on display and saying, hey, applaud for these guys. He was like,
contribute.
No, play along.
Have your moment to shine.
You've been paraded around at all of these events, Fuck it. I thought that was a lot of fun. And it took, it made like what has been like a tragic episode into, a fun, a fun-loving piece or bit, whatever.
Yeah, like, let's not make light of it, but let's kind of come together,
exactly,
like in a lighthearted way,
Let's move on together, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of. Do you remember after 9/11? This is important to you because this is an SNL reference I'm about to make. Okay, this is an old school SNL reference. It was the first SNL show after 9/11, so it had been however many weeks post 9/11. And at the time, oh my God, it's so much. This has not aged well. But Rudy Giuliani was the mayor at the time. And he came out, and Tina Fey was basically like, "So can we like laugh again?" And his bit was like, "Well, Tina, when has anyone ever laughed at SNL?" And it was like a funny joke at the time, like, haha, let's poke fun, but let's move on together. And that's how I felt in this moment too. Like, okay, this was a very serious moment, but like, how can we embrace it and move forward? So
right, again, without parading or preaching,
Yeah, without being too ham-fisted,
right? Because you have to remind yourself you're at an award show where everybody's giving out trophies and stuff. But they were talking about the firefighters and the fires in LA, but there was a fire on stage, Miguel, that I wanted to talk to you about that surprised me at how moved I was, and that was the opening performance of the Wicked duo.
Baby,
man,
thank you. You're not just saying that for me, right?
No, I genuinely, when I watched that opening with Ariana Grande, just the rainbow, the smoke. I mean, she hit that song so perfectly. She sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and that moment, just the cloud and everything. I welled up. It was so beautiful, and it just hit the emotional high that I mean,
Yes.
so rarely you get out of like an opening at the Oscars.
A live
like,
performance.
Genuinely, so
Nice.
beautiful, and she sung it so well. And then, of course, Cynthia Erivo came out and sang a song I'm not familiar with because it's not a part of Wicked Part 1. Maybe it's Wicked Part 2. Did you recognize the song?
No, I'm blanking on it right now. I know she got into Unlimited. Are you talking about what, Unlimited?
No. But it was that in between because she came out and she sung a different song.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't remember.
And yes, that flowed into Defying Gravity, and that was very good too. But like that first opening was breathtaking.
I just over the last year or so pre-Wicked, I kind of like became an Ariana Grande fan. Like as far as like the talent is concerned, I feel like she just can do music, you know?
Yeah.
And I had seen Cynthia Erivo in a couple of things prior, but I had never really seen her sing or do musicals or anything like that. And so when I watched Wicked for the first time, I was like, oh my God, she's so good. And the two of them together are just, I mean, guys, stop. We don't need to talk about Wicked for the millionth time. You guys know how I feel, but they really are so good.
It's very striking, and they were both obviously very good. And it was a good start.
I mean, they
to
sounded,
the show.
I mean, damn near perfect live, you know? And to hit those things and to sound just like the soundtrack, to sound just like the movie live, is a feat in and of itself. And I mean, honestly, every time that clip comes across my feed, I just stop and watch it because it's just chills. It's so good.
Honestly, it's one I would go back and watch. It's like when Lady Gaga did the Sound of Music tribute a few years back.
Yeah.
That was when I was just like, damn, she is fucking talented.
I mean, that's so true. Lady Gaga really is one of those singers where
they have such command of their voice.
Absolute range, and the way they turn it on, just from standing still to all of a sudden, here we are at our upper register doing the best we can. She's so good. And oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say the Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper moment at the Oscars, and I was like, yes, I also got chills from that moment.
Who didn't? That was hot.
I still think about that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Can
we? Why don't we stick on this theme for a second? If you don't mind, I'm sorry, I know you were leading.
No, the musical numbers.
Let's talk about the musical numbers and some musical numbers that were just like, how did this happen? Okay.
How did this happen? So after Wicked, there was that little "I won't waste time" bit, which I think was appropriate. It worked. It was brief, and it was fun. You know, it lived up to Conan's style too.
Yes, very fun, very silly, theatrical. You know,
right? And then later on we get a Bond tribute.
Okay.
So this was something I was looking forward to because I'd heard they were doing it. I couldn't tell you why, but I believe the reason is that the former producers, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, were getting honorary Oscars, amongst other people. It was that segment of the show, but it led into the Bond tribute. And usually they reserve that for when there's a Bond movie or it's an anniversary or whatever. I think it was purely for that. It was and since they weren't doing the original song nominees this year, they needed to fill it with musical numbers. So we got a tribute of a couple of songs and a dance with Margaret Qualley.
Love it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have just reacted to this as like this was random.
Kind of unnecessary.
Very unnecessary, overly long, and frankly, and I know this sounds mean, but just like the vocal performances weren't very good. It was rough. It was, the whole thing was just kind of like, why are we doing this? You're talking about not wasting time. Every fucking year you're talking about not wasting time. This is literally that.
Could have cut 10 minutes out of this show.
You given us a 1 minute video montage of Bond, and that would have been enough.
Yeah.
Um, or just
but
like
again,
the
just
dance
kind
with
of
Margaret Qualley.
unnecessary, you know?
Yeah, and so that was beyond disappointing.
What's
And
funny about
that's not
the
anything
Oscars
against
is,
the singers, because like Ray, who sang
yeah,
the Skyfall theme song,
yeah.
I like her. I think she's a talented musician, but that was not good.
It's so funny thinking about it because like in between giving the awards for the Oscars, it is very much just like a talent show, like in feel
Yeah.
and vibe, and
Yeah.
it's just like think about your high school talent show where the producer is like the art teacher for some reason, and she's like, well, you know, the parents are here, they want to see their kids sing, so we have to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like never mind, like does this fit at all? You know,
I think if they had done
but
away with that, the
would have
whole
maybe tightened up a little bit.
it would have tightened the whole thing up. It was just like this huge wall in the middle of the show that
Yeah.
all of a sudden we had to get through needlessly.
What about the Quincy Jones tribute?
At first I didn't realize what was happening, I guess, because I directed my attention, but I like Queen Latifah and it was a fun performance, I guess.
Yeah.
But also
I thought of the two, hers was more charged than the James Bond one.
Yeah, like more engaging
out,
anyway. I was just like, okay, now this is like you're
she had a
picking up
moment,
the energy again.
She had a moment again talking about like reading the room where there were performers that were on the front row, like Coleman Domingo, Ariana Grande, someone else. I'm thinking on Coleman Domingo's left, but she like called each of them out in the performance while she was singing, and it was just like, yes, like she felt their energy and then brought that energy into her performance, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a ton of fun. And also just briefly right before that, that was when Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg came out, right? Because they introduced that moment.
Yeah.
Man, we don't talk about this a lot, but what a dress that Whoopi Goldberg was wearing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of dug it, you know?
Yeah.
The moment they came out,
very
I was
different
like,
look for her.
Yes, but I loved it. Like, I like go out there and like show up and show out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Side note, she's not listening right now, but I did message Christine Wines because Christine Wines post Oscars had like 25 stories like on her story the next day where she was just breaking down everyone's outfit with comments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you have to come on the podcast and talk about this stuff next year because my God,
totally.
Her commentary was
I was going to ask you maybe if you had been paying attention, like were there any outfits that stood out to you? I loved Coleman Domingo's outfit.
And you know what? Everyone did. Okay. Coleman Domingo, he just
always
can I say something that's can I say something a little embarrassing right now?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this until this season. I'm so sorry, you guys. I didn't realize that Coleman Domingo was gay. Okay. Like he has a whole husband, and they are absolutely beautiful together. There was like he told a story a few years back on Graham Norton's show where he met his husband through like a Craigslist misconnections post. Do you guys remember Craigslist doing that? Where you would be like, I was in Target on Sunday at 6 p.m. and I saw you were wearing a blue hat and a white shirt. And then someone would go, I was in Target at 6 p.m. wearing a blue hat and a white shirt. I think that was me. And then they would meet up and they would be like, it's us. This is the missed connection.
Oh,
and that's how he met his husband.
Yeah.
So I just didn't realize he's just. I don't know how to say it. I just
posted a picture of them on the red carpet. I didn't realize he was married. But somebody commented, I would love to go to one of their dinner parties. You know.
Oh, absolutely,
100%.
Like I really have just kind of recently Coleman Domingo has come into my radar because I haven't really kept up with him previously.
Yeah.
But yeah, just all of his interviews and the way he speaks and just is like kind of thoughtful about life. I'm just like, and you seem like a guy who has lived, I guess 40 something years and just really has found his true self. And he's just so interesting to listen to. But all that to say is, he was maybe the best dressed of the night, dude. Like his outfit
honestly,
and
yeah,
is so good.
yeah.
And he has this energy. Like putting him front and center in the Oscars was a smart
Brilliant.
choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and there was a little like during the commercial break, he was up on stage and getting people dancing too. Have you seen that
I didn't
video?
know you could do that. Yes, I didn't realize you could do that.
I mean,
And
are you going to stop Coleman Domingo from doing that?
No. Well, that's the thing is like, it was like, who turned the mic on while he was up there? I just assumed anytime no one's on there, the mic is off, you know? But it's like he hopped up there and was like, I'm talking. And they were like, run it, get him up there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he was just, phenomenally dressed. I did not love Timothée Chalamet's look, the big yellow suit.
It was just the color. It was the color.
But I actually think, no, I don't know. I think it was the suit itself. I don't mind the color. I feel like the issue that I'm having with Timothée Chalamet is he just reads like young boy a lot. And then he makes these like big, bold choices. And I'm just like, I just haven't really caught up with you as like this adult
I'm
person
sure he
yet.
Gets that a lot.
Oh, and I know, and I'm not trying to sound
even
like a hater because I
made
like
a joke about his age, but you know,
I like Timothée Chalamet, but
he's earned the right in my eyes anyway. He's like, I think he's a cool, maybe cocky, but also genuine kind of actor. And
cocky's a hard word. I don't think he's cocky
is a hard word, maybe.
But I understand what you're saying. He's self-aware of who he is. You know,
I think self-aware is a much better way to put it. Yes. And again, I like Timothée Chalamet.
Me too.
So, but yeah, it was just the color for me mostly. I was just like, that looks like that banana taffy. Laffy Taffy.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mind the color because I feel like the color could have been used, but I didn't love the way the suit looked. But again, like make a bold choice. It's the Oscars, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not the fashion guy. I'm just going off based off gut reaction.
Yeah, it was just like who wore it better or best or whatever. Yeah. But hey, everybody usually looks good, right? All right. Well, what let's see. Do you want to talk about some of the winners real quick? Like just like a quick recap and then just
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Before we move on, can I wrap up the musical thought? I meant to do this earlier, okay?
Yeah.
Can I tell you the musical moment of the night that I couldn't believe happened? It was when that trio won for Emilia Pérez. Yeah. And they give the thank you speech, and then she's like, and then also thank you to Emilia.
I was just like, man, they got to be trolling, right? Like,
I mean, and what's so funny is she's so full with her whole chest committed to singing that song, and the other guy next to her was kind of like, oh well, I'll harmonize with you a little bit, but you could tell the other guy was just like, can we not? Can we just can we move on? And I just could not believe the audacity, but at the same time, I understand. and when you think about all the people that got cut off, it's like, we could cut this off, you know, like
at any time.
Let's go ahead and wrap that
maybe
up.
Maybe because they were quick ahead of it, but just like, I don't know. Yeah. The cutoffs are always unfortunate, because you got those people who are just happy to be there kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then there are those people who just like, really
drone on.
There were two people who were reading off of a phone, and that was just atrocious.
You prefer a physical paper copy?
Only because they were clearly just talking over each other, and the phone was blowing up.
Yeah.
Whilst they were trying to read it.
So they were getting like
and they were like, "Oh, it's your bit." No, it's your bit. It's like, okay, yeah, just fucking write it down or just say thank you.
Just move on. You know,
please just move on. So yeah, no, that was like I said, it just felt like they were trolling. It was silly, but yeah, that was funny too.
All right, well, enough of the bits. You want to get into the winners of the show?
Let's just list some winners, and then like if there's like a speech or like someone or an outfit that you want to mention.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so let's just I'll stick to the main ones. International feature went to I'm Still Here, bravo Brazil. Animated feature film went to Flow, Luisa's #1 movie of the year last year.
And just real quick side note is I finally watched that movie with my family. I think I might have mentioned it, but it was really good. Did you watch it?
Yes. To my shame, I still haven't seen like the last 10 minutes of it.
You know what? That's okay. Hey, you're in a safe space. Okay.
I want to go back and watch it.
I love not watching a whole movie.
But that's the thing is like, do I go back and rewatch the whole thing, or do I go back and rewatch the whole 10 minutes? I don't know. But it was a baby situation, so I had to.
I would tell you. I don't know about you, but I'm someone that can retain memories. And if I was 10 minutes out from something, I would maybe skip back 5 minutes before that and just watch the last 15 minutes. You know what I mean? You'll get there.
I just wanted to flow into it, you know?
Oh, I love it.
All right. So
and the big thing is they also had the shot of the cat on the digital screen holding the Oscars, and that's cute.
It's nice. That. Yeah, it's like the little movie that could. So I'm happy for it. It was a good movie. I'm not.
The Wild Robot losing to it was crazy because the Wild Robot was really good. People really liked
the highest grossing movie of the year, Inside Out 2.
Yeah. Disney's lost. What was it? The last 3 years.
I mean, that's okay. They had a solid decade running streak.
No, I know, but I'm just pointing out that it's not a shoe-in. It's not a sure win.
Not anymore, no.
Exactly.
All right, so adapted screenplay went to Conclave, which was that was one of the front runners for Best Picture, but that's all it got in the end. Original screenplay went to Anora, and that's when I knew it was happening, baby. I'll get to it. All right.
Okay,
Actress in a supporting role: Zoe Saldana from Emilia Pérez, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain. I mean, we all saw that coming, right?
Yeah.
Fun acceptance speech, though.
I want to talk. Can I real quick? This is important. So you're kind of on a rhythm. I don't want to interrupt you too much, but I want to talk about two really quick things. Let's talk Kieran Culkin for a second. He got a little bit of flack. There's been a lot of talk on the internet about his acceptance speech where he mentioned, "I love my wife so much, and she owes me 2 babies." Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I say it like that, I'm only saying it because that's how the internet interpreted it.
Right.
But I feel like watching it and because they had the camera on her the entire time too, I really felt like these are 2 people that love each other, and this is their cadence and their relationship. Yeah. Like it felt like they understood each other. But the internet did kind of eat that up and go, "Wow, how dare he kind of like push his." You know what I mean? Like you owe me babies agenda.
I did not take it as. I mean, I know you're not. I'm just saying you're the internet.
We're two white guys on the internet, and so exactly. I know they're going to take it. But I did not feel that way at all. It did feel very much like these are 2 people that love each other. And he was like making fun of her for making fun of him, and it just felt like this is their vibe.
It was like a fun anecdote, and that he chose to share with the world, and I thought that was nice. It was sincere. Yeah. It's better than most of the acceptance speeches. Not that they have to be entertaining, but if you're going to draw it out, make it fun.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But the other thing I want to say is Zoe Saldana winning. When that happened, of course, you guys know I really wanted Ariana Grande to win. But there was someone else that I thought would have been a good one too. But Zoe Saldana winning, I remember thinking Zoe Saldana is her big talking point as far as like the way the internet looks at her is she's in like 3 of the biggest franchises of all time, 2 or 3 of the biggest franchises of all time. Like she, like just statistically is like a box office win, like she's been in multiple billion-dollar movies. And also, she's a good actress. I loved her in Avatar. I think the whole movie, the whole franchise is basically built around her and the way that she commits to that character. Because if she did not commit to that character in that way, I don't think any of the other Avatars would have worked, She
gave it the emotional core. I know you haven't seen her, Miguel, but she gives a wonderful performance in Emilia Pérez, despite everything surrounding that movie.
Well, go ahead. No, I'm gonna let you go, but I just want to talk about something about that in a minute.
Yeah,
if she's really good, I don't doubt it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, she has an Oscar to prove it now. But yeah, no, I think she's always been such a capable actor who just happened to not be shunned, but I think, I guess, typecast in the sense that she's, she's in those big movies, but she's always consistently good.
But you can't. But even if she's in a to tag on to what you're saying, even if she's in the big blockbuster movies, you can't sit there and go, she's phoning it in or doing this bland, like kind of just like whatever.
There are sore thumbs throughout those franchises. Yeah,
and she is not one of them.
No,
absolutely
not at all. Never. No. She brings it. You know what I mean? She's one of those actors.
I talk about Avatar a lot, but the way that she just emotes pain through her like voice, this exasperated, like just all the air comes out of her, and you can see her through all of this like CGI, which is kind of a weird thing because I think some of the best performances are when you can't see the actor, but she wears all that CGI in Avatar, but she still comes through, which I think is also good. No, I love Zoe Saldana, and even though I was rooting for someone else, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I love living in a world where Zoe Saldana is an Oscar winner. Absolutely. Yeah. So the only thing I want to bring up here is I didn't see this until the next day. But after they win the award, they go backstage and they have like a really quick press conference where they ask the questions.
Yeah.
And of course, like the big moment for her was them asking about like the trans community, the Mexican, the Spanish community, like, sorry, I'm saying the wrong word there, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the question was basically like, what's your reaction to the backlash? And I did think her answer left like a kind of a sour taste. And I was just like, oh no, like, how did I go from being so excited that she won the Oscar to being like so disappointed in her answer? Cause she was basically just like, I'm sorry if you're offended. And it was like,
well,
that's
but here's the thing.
And I understand, but it's just, it was kind of a tone deaf answer is all I'm saying.
But, well, it's either that or I don't know. Like, we're already talking about the essence of the internet where everything can be scrutinized and taken the wrong way. So after a whole award season, I don't think she's dumb or blind. She's aware of everything going on surrounding it. And but in that moment, she just won something for something that she felt passionate about. And I don't believe that at least her intentions in that movie were ill-intended.
Bad.
I think yeah, she came from it as any actor would. And I think basically in that moment that they were just saying like, what do you have to say about everybody hating your film?
And she got a little defensive.
And that, I mean, but wouldn't you? Like, the Oscar is for the actors the greatest thing. That is what it's about, right? So to have that moment undermined by just like, I mean, okay, all we've been hearing about for the last couple of months is the Emilia Pérez thing, and nobody wants it to win, and that's fine, whatever. But she kept winning every award, so people obviously feel like she was deserving of it. But so when you've got your back against the wall and you're just like, hey, say the right thing right now. Why do you how do you feel about everybody hating your movie?
I would argue that.
And congratulations, by the way.
First off, I totally hear you. I think that arguably she is, obviously, we talked about all these accolades as far as like billion-dollar movies that she's been in. She most likely has a publicist and PR training and media training, you know what I mean, when it comes to these moments. And I just felt like her answer could have been a little more tactful. Because right away, like, take away all of the like acting and Hollywood of it all. Like, imagine someone confronted you with something that you did wrong, or they feel like you did wrong, and you were like, well, I'm sorry that you're offended by that. And you go, well, that's not like a solid apology. It doesn't feel great. What I think she kind of like wrapped up at the end of that was, what I would love is to like sit down at the table and have that conversation with people. I think that needed to be the theme of her answer. And it just kind of took a while to get there. But I was just kind of like, oh, I went from this kind of like whiplash of being so excited she won because I love Zoe Saldana, to being like, oh man, that's not the best answer. And I understand being defensive about it. But let me tell you this.
I'm just going to say this. There just wasn't going to be a right answer. I'm sorry. You're living your best moment of your life for something that you've been gearing for.
Yeah.
And you don't have a script in your head. Obviously, we're
going to get so to easy.
It. There's another speech.
It's so easy to sit here and go, oh, she should have done something different.
Yeah.
But actually being in those shoes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And answering that question in that moment, I'm sure was
I think if
difficult.
You were feeling strongly about one thing or another, I'd be lucky if I said the right fucking thing. I would probably make it worse, in fact.
And maybe other people feel differently, but I would say this, maybe I didn't love that answer, but for me personally, it did not make me change my overall opinion about Zoe Saldana.
No, yeah.
I feel like she is a tremendous
You're not canceling
actress.
Avatar 3.
No, I'm gonna go see Avatar, you guys, babies. I'm sorry. I am seeing that movie, and I am glad that she is of that notoriety. I have not seen that movie. I understand there's backlash to it, and maybe it's one of those things where I'll watch in like a year or two, and I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't think it was that bad," or maybe I'll watch it and go, "Fuck, that really was terrible."
Right.
But I tell you this, Zoe Saldana, she shows up, she shows out, and she's
an Oscar winner now. Yeah.
She is deserving of awards caliber, you know what I mean, performances. So, no, I didn't mean to delve too deep into that, but I was just, it was a couple of the moments that kind of stood out.
I get you. And I didn't realize people were upset about Kieran Culkin's one either. So there you go. The internet.
Yeah. The internet is going to be mad about everything. They're mad about us right now.
I know.
Okay.
Take the Joe Pesci route and just say thank you and walk off stage.
You know, every time they post that video, I don't care where it is, I sit and watch it because one, it's so short. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, absolutely. I love a short video. Okay.
And if anything, it just boosted people's respect of the man.
Yes. Can I tell you what's so great about it is it's only 5 seconds long or whatever, but if you watch the body language, it's so good. He wins the award. He's like, "Oh my God, I won the award." He walks up to the stage, he gets up there, and I'm going to do it real quick. He grabs the Oscar and he goes like this. Thank you. You know what I mean? It's like that very brief moment of just like taking it in and then going, I don't fucking want to talk to you guys about that. And he moves on. It is peak Joe Pesci. I love him.
100%.
And it's for Goodfellas, which is like the best movie of all time. Everyone agrees. Ed, thank you.
Yeah.
So no. All right, we got off the beaten path. We went down hey, this is a lighthearted fun
we're
podcast.
talking about the shortest speech of all time. Let's talk about the longest fucking speech of all time.
Let's get into it.
That's
you guys
official.
Know it.
All right. Well, we all knew it was going to happen, I think. But yeah, Adrian Brody won Best Actor. And,
shout out.
It was a worthy win. Some
say.
Some say, some people thought other people should win, and they would be right, I guess.
And isn't that the crux of it all?
Second Academy Award since 2002's The Pianist, and old Adrian. And it's funny too because people are now calling back to the SAG Awards Kieran Culkin speech back then. Yep. Where he made a joke at Adrian Brody for keeping it at 45 seconds. And this motherfucker went on for 5 minutes, I think it was clocked
over
at.
5 minutes, yeah.
Over 5 minutes.
It was like 5:40, Yeah. And I watched it live. So actually, hang on, Ed. This is the moment. Let's talk about it now, okay?
Yeah.
before we even get to the Adrian Brody of it all, because everyone knows he talked long, and we're gonna have our thoughts on that. But here's what the shitty thing that happened is people were watching live on Hulu.
Yeah.
And before Mickey Madsen, am I saying the name right? She
Mickey
won
Madison,
for Best Actress. I'm sorry, you guys know what I'm saying. She won Best Actress for Anora, which is a super win. And we can talk about that as well. I don't want to undermine that. But Ed, baby, you were watching on Hulu Live as well as other people, and you totally missed out. Best Actress, Best Actor.
No, I got Best Actor. That happened before Best Actress. And then
so you got to. I'm sorry, you got to watch the whole 5 minute and 40-second speech.
Yeah, imagine my annoyance.
Oh my god, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry.
I did actually just like tune out. And then it was like, I came back to it. I was like, oh my God, he's still talking.
He's still talking. I will say this. Then let's talk about it.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we'll keep it on that because I didn't realize. I forgot the order. But yeah, you're so right. It was one of those things where I was kind of surprised because most people were like, the big moment was he got played off and he said, turn the music off. I'm fucking still talking. And I'm going to keep it brief. I've been here before. I can keep it brief. And then he went on for like another minute and a half. I was surprised because a lot of people were like, I didn't really feel like he was saying a whole lot. But then you would get these like sprinkles of people that were like, he said so much. How did you not think that was the best speech of all time? And I was like, I don't know.
It was meandering.
There was one or two moments where he said something of value, where he was like speaking out against anti-Semitism and kind of like the world in general. But it was a lot of like kind of just like vague, like words strewn together to make a speech
that he was thinking of in the moment. It's like, oh, what do I need to touch on to make this
and it was like
sincere?
I would have rathered him. Do you remember when Timothy Chalamet, I think it was the SAG Awards, where he was like basically saying like, I am so proud of myself and I want to be one of the greats. And yeah, you can laugh. I know, I get it. It's a little arrogant or whatever, but I would have preferred Adrian Brody just like full-heartedly holding on to that moment and being like, I'm so proud of myself and I'm so happy to be here, as opposed to like kind of talking these like vague nonsense sentences that are really, again, nonsense and just kind of talking in circles and then kind of hitting some poignant moments, and then at the next day he's like doing a TikTok where he's like, I'll keep this brief, but I know I just had the longest speech in all of history. And it was like, okay, like I just don't feel like you really had anything to say. You really only care about yourself.
I just don't think he had a plan to say. He just felt he was entitled to say it.
Yes.
And there it is. I don't think it was anything. The fact that like the first thing he said after he told them to cut the music was just like, oh, and my parents are here. It's just like, it was a little wanky, but I'm happy for him. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I want to root for you.
Yeah, but you're making
it just not be a douchebag.
Yeah,
just I loved that Predators movie that you were in. Okay, like
I like King Kong, man.
I like that you do serious movies, but can also be fun. So can you just be fun?
No, you can't. But look, the most contentious award of the night, leading up to it, was the lead actress, and it went to none other than Mickey Madison.
That's right.
And yes, so right up to this, right as they were like getting into the clips of the performances.
Okay, let's hear it.
That's when Hulu cut out. And not just for me, every Hulu subscriber who felt like tuning in.
Into that moment, and it went out, and you must have felt like, well, it's going to come right back.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Instantly. It rolled into that, and the screen popped up, and it's like, thanks for enjoying the live stream, or whatever it said. No. The event is over, basically. So, which makes me think it was like a preset timer that went on like, okay.
It's Adrian's fault.
The Oscars ran long, because of the Bond tribute and Adrian Brody's speech. And there we go. But it was, again, like I said, it was like this was the one where nobody was quite certain who was going to win. So this was like the most exciting category of the night, and it cut out right before. And yeah, I was just scrambling, and then when I realized it wasn't coming back on, I just started texting, okay, who won? Fucking who told me? I didn't have any other way to watch it, and the rest I had to watch the following day on whatever. On Hulu, I went back and just scrolled through all the moments. But yeah, so I
what a
thought
what a shitty way to end the show. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
It was underwhelming. It was frustrating, especially because I knew Anora was picking up momentum and was likely to win Best Picture that night. So I wanted to see that and rejoice in that, and to see who won fucking Best Actress. So, but yeah, were you surprised? Were you rooting for anyone in particular? Obviously, you haven't seen Anora.
No, I hadn't, and I did kind of get the vibe pre-Oscars that Wicked was gonna. Hey, shout out to your baby, okay?
I'm gonna mute while you talk. Go ahead.
Okay, but we love him. Okay, just so you know, we love him. Okay. So I obviously kind of knew, okay, Wicked's not going to win now. And going into this Oscars, a lot of the people were saying, hey, you guys, like Wicked Part 2 could clean up the Oscars. It is like a halfway story right now. And once you see the full thing, maybe you'll see a little more awards recognition, and maybe we won't.
I remember them saying that about a certain other Part 2 a couple of years back. Whenever, yeah,
what was the other one?
When Dune Part 2 was coming out, they were just like,
that's what
Dune Part 2 will get all the. Like that's when Denny will get nominated for Best Director.
And, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry that did not happen. Okay, I'm trying to be realistic about Wicked Part 2. I really do think that they could have won awards for this movie. It didn't happen, but it's going to be one of those things. No, but I'm talking about like the actors and also the director.
Sure. Okay, sure, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to downplay the other awards either, but. I just mean,
fuck you, best.
These performances were absolutely beautiful, and if they don't win for this movie or the next movie, it's not going to take away from the fact that movie is really good. But all that to say is, I did kind of think that Demi Moore was going to win it just because of the buzz around the movie and her role. When Mickey Madsen won, Sorry, I keep saying it wrong. I keep saying it like Madsen.
Say whatever you want. Madison.
You know what? Sorry. I'm sorry, Mickey. Okay. You did great. I haven't seen it, but congrats. It was just one of those things where I was like, I love this like young up and comer Hollywood. She is making her mark. I loved her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and so many of those young actors in that movie have gone on to like win awards or be just kind of
blowing up right now.
Yeah, they blew up. I was happy for her, a little surprised at the win. But when I realized that, so many Anora awards had happened, it was like, hey, good for them. They're on a streak. I love Sean Baker. I like his style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
The fact that they went on to win Best Picture as well.
Yep.
I paid attention.
Our Best Picture winner. There it is.
And he historically now has personally won 4 awards in the same night for the same movie. When people mentioned the Parasite director Bong
Joon-ho.
Yeah. They did mention the technicality that apparently the best foreign picture or whatever went to the country that made the movie. So technically, like, he won 3 out of the 4 awards that night personally. And Sean Baker won all 4 awards himself.
Right. Sure.
I do think that's a little bit of a technicality, and I was like, yeah, Parasite really did that shit. So I'm not going to downplay that at all.
That was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good, and genuinely hope you'll watch that one day with your wife. I think it's a fun movie. I recommend it to everybody, and so far everybody has enjoyed it. They just announced today that it'll be on Hulu on March 17th.
Love that.
Prior to its physical release on DVD and Blu-ray and all of that stuff. It's getting thrown into the Criterion channel collection too.
Ah, you lucky boy. You know, let's wrap this up. Let me ask you this, okay?
Yeah.
If you could get in that Criterion closet, you've seen the videos, right?
Oh yeah. Which ones would I pick?
Which ones would you pick?
Okay. I have.
Oh, hang on, you guys. Let's wrap this up with this thought. He's thought about it. Okay,
I have thought about it.
Guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast and listening to the Oscars talk. But let's wrap this up with fucking Ed's Criterion collection, like his Criterion closet picks.
Okay.
All right.
So one that I have been wanting to get for a long time, but I keep putting it off to get something else. But I do want is the Red Shoes. I want the Small Axe collection, the Steve McQueen series that they did on Prime that I talk about all the time. I would actually like Anora. That would be cool. That is one that I am looking forward to.
And Ed wants all of these in like the steelbook cases. Okay, he wants these in like the fanciest,
beautiful little Blu-ray.
Clack.
That they have. The Doctor Strangelove.
Hell yeah.
Because I've looked at what comes with these too. There are some cool behind the scenes booklets and yada yada. There's one I'm forgetting. I'm looking up to see what I'm missing.
he's asking Jesus to give him the answer.
Tell me. But there's a bunch that I constantly, every time there's like a 50% sale at Barnes & Noble, it goes in and out of my cart, because every time I do that, I'm just like, when am I going to get to watch these?
But is it about watching them, or is it about having them in your collection?
Having them.
Ed?
Well, that's why I get maybe like 1 or 2 every year. You know, that's
good.
It's flowing, but not. I'm not going
overboard. You have to go. Do I want a Lego, or do I want the Criterion Collection movie?
These days, maybe it's always Criterion, because I can't afford Lego anymore. Oh man, thank you, Lego. But yeah, I would love to do the Criterion closet one day. I would get so lost in there. Women in Love. That would be a good one. War and Peace. I would like to get those. I haven't seen them, but I want to see them. I could go on and on, but yeah.
We should have a whole episode of just Ed's Criterion collection.
Criterion picks.
Come on. His Criterion choices. You know, the alliteration.
There you go.
Okay. Guys, ECC. What an episode. Thank God you guys have listened to us. Hey, real quick, I'm going to mention it again. Join us on Twitch, because 0 views this episode. Love that.
Just like, we're talking about the Oscars. Great.
Hang on. There's 1 viewer, and I'm pretty sure it's me. Okay, on my phone. We're going to keep promoting this. We're going to make it happen, okay?
We'll have a good... Oh, God, sorry.
I know it's late. But yeah, Luis has been gone, so we just decided to have a little fun with this episode.
I got a question for you, Miguel. Are you going to watch...
Yeah, go ahead.
Mickey 17?
Yeah, that's one I want to watch, because Parasite was so good. Yeah. And you guys know that I didn't love Snowpiercer, which was another Bong Joon-ho movie.
Me neither. Yeah.
I watched it, but I didn't like it. Did I say that? I didn't love that movie.
Right.
So, but I watched Parasite with Ed, and Parasite was so good that I'm now a little more on board. And we have obviously become Robert Pattinson fans.
Yes, we have.
Late, he's done a lot, and that's besides Batman. Like, he has done a lot of really good movies in the last 10 years. So, do I want to see it? Absolutely.
Maybe that'll be our feature discussion next week. Is
Oh,
why
is
I
it coming
bring
out
up.
next week? Is it already
It's
there?
coming out
Oh
this
my God.
weekend. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably make time to go see that movie actually because I'm interested in it. I'm hoping
All
it's
right.
good.
Cool. All right. Well,
so,
there you go, Luis. You have your feature discussion.
Thanks, little producer. So, that's a callback to before we were recording. Hey, you guys, that was our episode. Episode like what, 147?
147.
Can we talk for real quick? We almost have 150 episodes.
Whoo!
What? You guys have been listening, okay? We've come a long way, all right?
Yeah.
We've come up in the world. All right.
We're almost consistent with our technical stuff.
Yeah, and we get tens of views, okay? So thank
and
you
we're
guys.
grateful
We do it
for every single one.
We do it for you. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been one of your hosts tonight, Miguel Sanchez. With me is
Ed Bull.
No, just Ed.
Just Ed. Sorry, you're right.
Ed.
Yeah.
That's been our episode. And what do we still say? Later, Gators.
It's very ciao.
Ciao, babies.
Ciao, babies.
Say a slur real quick before we go. No.